Hi guys, Deborah Wakefield here with Deborah's Ditties Artistic Stone. And I've been asked to show you guys how I do my wood look. So this is what I posted on the page the other day. This is what we're gonna do today. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. This is a customer request. This is their little table. It actually goes on like an entertainment center type of piece of furniture, and it matches their table, and that is why I've chosen the colors that I have. I've already prepped my board with paint and primer, Behr paint and primer, and then I sanded it. Second coat, I used the stone coat under epoxy paint, just in white. Now I am going to use some acrylic paint for the base, and that is just simply on this technique. I really like to use the base color, and I was specifically asked to match their furniture in their house. So acrylics make that a little bit easier, and this is just going on the base. We'll let it dry completely before we continue on with our epoxy. So basically all I'm using is it's acrylic paint, color is cream. If you do not have acrylic paints, that's fine. You can use an equivalent spray paint would be almond. So you could do the same exact things, dry in spray paints. Just putting this on here, slapping this on here, and getting some color so that that'll show through my epoxy. So basically, literally, that's all I'm doing is just gonna slap this on here. And I will constantly go in a striation because that's the way wood grain goes. And I'm just gonna kind of cover the board. And while my paint is wet, I will add other colors. And of course, you gotta make sure you get your edges. Okay, I hope you guys can see that. I will bring that down. Matter of fact, I'll do that right now while it's wet and show you what I do next. Okay, I'm gonna bring that down so you can see what I do in the next step. So you can see I don't have it all totally covered. Okay, so while that is wet, we're just gonna add some different colors. This is just a dark brown. And common sense tells you just go in striation form. Maybe some darker, some lighter. So I might want that a little bit darker there. Bring it out, make it lighter. Just blending. But you can see I'm not painting it. I'm literally just smearing it on here, just getting some color for underneath of it. Same thing with my edges. You treat your edges exactly the same as you treat your top for the wood. As y'all know, I'm not real good with technology. Okay, so of course you get in the front the same. Just smear that color on there. Okay, see, nothing hard about that. Not a lot of time spent. I will add a little bit of different, just because I know this is in their house, that color, which is a cinnamon. And like I said, guys, you can use whatever wood color you're trying to come up with. I'm actually having to match their table. So that's why I've chosen the colors that I've chosen. sure you put a little bit of that cinnamon on the sides. So now on the spots that you see that have no paint, I did that on purpose because now is when I use the a little bit of spray paint, and this is, I don't know what you call it, brown Behr. And then I'm just going to spray it, and our spray is going to get in the areas that I don't have any paint, and I do it in a striation. Okay. Then I take my brush that had all them different colors on it, and I'm just going to make sure that blends in. Pretty simple, guys. I really hope the person who made the comment that why would anybody do this when they could just go buy wood is watching, because you have to understand that I do this for a living, and those of us who do it for a living, we do what the customer asks. So I don't understand quite that comment, but I guess it is what it is. Now, the reason I'm brushing after I spray paint, you don't see that a lot, is simply because it causes it to drag. I hope you can see this here. Because your paint is sticky. So when you take a paintbrush and you drag it, it gives you that look that you want in wood. So it actually gives it kind of some texture. And so that is why I'm doing that. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to bring you down really close here and show you. And the reason it's doing it is because it's mixing with the wet paint, hitting those dry areas that I left dry. And when I drag it across, it gives that look. And when it's all said and done, well, here, let me show you. That's what gives this look. Hopefully you can see that. It gives that look just like what wood would have. It looks like it's got texture on it. And people ask me if I put texture on it. Well, I do. This is the kind of texture that I'm putting on it. I just do it with my paintbrush. Okay. So, okay. Hopefully I'll try to do one. Well, I don't have really dry spots here, but I'll do it right here and show you. I made that pretty dark for you so that hopefully you can see how it pulls it away, right? Look at that. Look how simple that was. And it drew all them colors into that, leaving some, taking some away, and then it leaves those marks. That's basically what I'm doing. And I pull that paint until you can kind of feel it across the table, kind of dried out. And look, I dragged it. I drug that brown into that other color, and it gives that texture look. And that's all I do. Nothing real fancy. So we'll do some over here. And I just pull it into that. I'm going to do one more just for your guys' sake, right here in this wetter paint here. Okay, I'm going to actually hopefully see if I can zoom in for you or get it a little bit closer. Right, where are we on there? So right here, okay? I did it pretty dark. And you can see I really put my brush down, and then I drag that into those other colors. And look what it's doing. Look what it did. It just gave that broken up look. The only thing that stayed was what was really stuck to the dry areas. And that underneath the epoxy looks really cool. So we have some dry area here. I'm actually going to change to a dark walnut now. Spray paint. Okay, now watch this. You see that? Look how that just chatters across there. drag that out, give that look. And you don't always, you should always stay in your striation because like I said, I am using this as, this is gonna play a huge part in this piece, but you don't always have to go straight across. Don't know if you can see that, but I stopped about here because that's just the way wood is. And then I kind of start in the middle of that and then go out. So I guess I am strategically putting it there, but I'm not taking time to paint each and every line, I guess. I'm gonna make sure I get some walnut on the side. Sorry about that. And I will say that I tend to, when you're doing striation on something that's fairly long, I do tend to kind of have a curve in it, and you really don't want that. You want it to be as straight as possible. Okay, guys, that's it. My battery says it's about dead, so I will come back in a little bit, and we'll put the epoxy on here, and I'll show you the next step. Bring you down and show you what it looks like. So hopefully you can see that. See kind of the chatter marks here. Maybe if I go on this side, it won't have a shade. See, this is where it was dry, and then I pulled that into it. And it kind of gives that textured look to it. It draws this color over that. Okay? Not difficult at all. And I will show you the next step. Okay, epoxy time. And this is really simple, really simple. I use one color, and this is dark walnut. Okay, Rustoleum dark walnut. And I do take out a little bit and put in a separate cup and make it more opaque than the other. So, and I also do it, I'll probably do it in about, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe. You will see what I do. So I'm gonna just take this out and set it aside for the moment. So I just put the paper towel over the bucket and spray in there. I want this opaque. I do not want it, I want it translucent. I do not want it opaque. I would not have spent so much time putting all the color on the bottom if I was going to make this opaque and... Okay, so I'm trying to make this translucent, as I said. Sorry, I was interrupted by my dog. Okay, I think that's good. Okay. And just to make sure, I just put a little bit on and see if I like it before I pour the whole thing. I think that's going to be okay. Better hope so. Okay, and then just with your hand, just smear it out. Oh, yep, I like that. So this is basically like staining our board. see that on there. Because you want to make sure that you have enough to go over your edge. I'm not worried about it because I took a cup out over there, so that'll be plenty. It always amazes people how much, it really doesn't take that much epoxy, and what you can do in just a little bit of epoxy is really phenomenal. You have to remember too that we are using that background for the majority of our look. So that also helps. I'm going to grab my torch and put a little more on here. I want enough to really cover my edge as well. Playing in epoxy, nothing better. There, that's a perfect color, perfect amount. Happy with that. And remember, I took out a little bit. I'm going to make that some dark walnut as well, but I'm just going to make it very opaque. And I'm going to run some lines through it, but I'm going to do that in 15-20 minutes. You really want this transparent because you want to be able to see them chatter marks and the texture feel to it, and or not feel but look to it. To run a stick with the dark walnut. That's the good thing about using and putting so much color on the base, because I really don't have to do a whole lot. I do tend to, I'm hoping you can see this, I do V's a lot. So let me see where we're at here. Let me actually, so to give it the wood look, of course, we just run sticks through it. Everybody knows this one. But instead of just going back and forth, I do like to put like a V in it. Hopefully you can see this, pretty wide. Pretty strategic, right? So I'm kind of doing the same thing here, and I'm going to come back after it kind of sets up a little bit, but I spray it on the whole bottom down here, which I'm not going to do over my piece. Okay, I get quite a bit on there. And then I lay it flat. And I'm kind of doing the same thing with this as I would do with my paint. I kind of give it that chatter. Now, right now, it is going to blend out quite a bit, which I want. I made some drips up here, so we're just gonna spread them out. But when you use your stick flat like that, you get some really cool lines instead of just totally straight lines that look, to me, more natural. Okay. And you see I am staying in the striation, but I don't necessarily, and you can, it doesn't matter, I don't necessarily go from one end to the other, but I am staying in a striation pattern. Okay, and I do not do my whole board. I'm pretty strategic how I'm doing it. I'm really hoping you guys can see that. So I want to see if you guys can see this. Let's say, because I've been doing it, hopefully you've been seeing it, I make a big drip on there. Oh well, I just take my stick and I just kind of play with it. Look at that. So yeah, I guess I play with mine a little bit, and I do not cover my whole board with this color. As it sets up, I am going to put some more lines through this with thicker epoxy, same color. Okay. And I'm going to get you close down here and see if you can see this. So you can see when you made a big drop and I just kept going back and forth in that one spot with the flat edge. I'm hoping that you can see that. Okay, so right here in this area, I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do it with kind of a V shape, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Hopefully you can see it. See that lighter brown that we had in there? We'll be putting some more of that in there as well. Okay, we're back. It's been about, actually it's only been about 15 minutes, maybe not quite 15 minutes, but, and it's still quite fluid, but it has tacked up just a little bit, and I'm not going to overdo it. I'm really kind of just liking the way it looks now, but I am going to put some darker lines in here. Now, part of the reason I'm doing that is, you know, spray paint floats, some spray paint floats, and so mixing it in with a stick helps mix it into that epoxy, but it also kind of spreads a little bit. And it spreads differently than when you put it into epoxy. So this is going to still spread a little bit because it is still fluid, but not as much. It's really going to just kind of hold its shape more so than the spray paint. So with both of them, it just makes it really cool. Okay, making striations, just like I was. Okay, just about like that. I'm not gonna go overboard with it. And there's just so much of this I like, I don't really want to do too much to it. And you notice how I skip it? So I'm pulling it, then I touch the epoxy, pick it up, skip it. I just like that look. Okay. Look at that, look how that looks. So cool. And I have not made any knots. I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's kind of making its own knots. When I put the stick, remember I told you when I was spraying it, I put all the paint really heavy here and I laid it flat and kind of skipped it over. It kind of gives it natural looking knots. I haven't even put any knots in here, and I probably won't have to. It'll just kind of do it on its own. So there's one of those V's that I put in here. And I'm gonna go from this side, I'm gonna do the same. I do like to put it right on the edge because you know some of it's gonna go off anyway. It's really important to get your edges to look the same, so I need to leave it alone. Hoping you guys can't hear that music. That is not my music, that is the next door neighbor's music. So guys, I think I'm just gonna, I made up a lot, but I'm just really kind of liking the way it is. I am gonna put some on this edge as well and let that go down over. And on the end ones, of course, I like the grain to go down over just the same as what it was coming up. You kind of just let the piece talk to you. Like I saw a really bent line there, so you just kind of make it to where it'll look natural. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to hit it with the torch, and so the edges will roll over just a little bit more, pop the bubbles, and I think we're just going to call it good. I'm really happy with it. Oh, I missed it one more time. In any place that I think it might be a little bit too light. Their table is really dark, so once I pop this, pop the bubbles, let it set just probably for another 5-10 minutes maybe. If I come back and it's just, you know, too light in any areas, I will just touch it a little bit with some more dark walnut, and we're gonna call it good. So, hi guys. Okay, next day, I come back and I'm loving this wood look countertop that I did. However, I have to tell you that last night before I left, it must have been 1 or 2 in the morning, I kept looking at it thinking something wasn't right. So I got the sample board and I put next to it, and it just wasn't dark enough. Couldn't figure out what I had done differently. This is a lesson to be learned, and it's not the first time I've done it. You should write down your recipes or videotape yourself doing your sample board so that you can come back and remember what you did. So I racked my brain, I went back through everything, kind of step by step of what I had done on that sample board, and I remembered that what I had done when I took that little bit of epoxy in that cup and I set it aside for later to put in the darker striations, I remember now that I put a couple squirts of black Rustoleum spray paint in with that dark walnut spray paint into that epoxy and made it a little bit darker. So all the colors were absolutely perfect. I just knew that the striations weren't quite dark enough. Wasn't like the sample board. So and it was really quite tacky when I did it, and so some of it's just a little bit raised, but it's not a big deal. We'll sand that down. But I did play with some more striations, and I did get it as dark as I need it. So, lesson learned, make sure you write your recipes down, and just one little thing like that is totally the difference between sometimes having to redo something because she okayed that sample board, it was darker, and I just kept looking at it right before I left to go home, and I just kept thinking, no, this is just not dark enough. And now this is exactly like the sample board, and that one little mistake was what it was. So that's what I did. I played with some more striations. I'll bring you down so that you can see it. Also, you'll notice my edges. What I do with my edges is when it gets really, really tacky, almost beyond, I almost waited too late last night, but 4 or 5 hours afterwards, I take the isopropyl alcohol trick and I spray it on my gloved hand and I rub my edges until they're nice and smooth. It's really honestly the only way that you can get your edges as smooth as you need them without sanding them, and we all know what happens when you sand your edges, or what can happen when you sand your edges. So I do that. Now, before I did that though, I do take a paintbrush, and I'll show you the edge. I do take a paintbrush and I play with that. I only do that on my wood looks because I'm a stickler for detail. That's just who I am. And if you remember when I was putting the darker striations in here out of the cup, I make sure that I run a bead. Let me see, maybe even back a smidge so you can see that edge, hopefully. Got some glare on it probably. But anyway, I ran a really thick, heavy bead of that darker epoxy here, knowing it's gonna flow over, but you also kind of know it's gonna drip off. So what I do during that stage is I, when it's really thick, I paint on here. I literally take spray paint, the paint that I was using, and I spray, or I paint these edges, just put striations in it so that it looks exactly like the top. Once again, you don't have to do that. The edges, the colors were fine. I just wanted to put a few little striations there. I did that with a paintbrush, and now everything kind of flows. Once again, I'm just into detail. You don't have to do that. But I hope you guys can see this. Now, I did spray this with a satin spray because of the edge, what I had done. So, but anyway, I'm going to sand this down. I'm going to put some epoxy on it, and I'm going to put the UTC on it. Then I will show you what it looks like. So I just wanted to tell you guys that I did end up putting some darker striations in here late last night, almost too late, but I can sand that down. So, all right, I will show you guys the final picture when I'm done. Okay, I forgot to bring it closer here, so I'm hoping that you guys can see this. And I'm hoping that you guys can see the chatter marks. See, this was the paint chatter marks that left the texture. So when I came back late last night and put them darker colors in there, that actually worked out really good for that. So, but those are nice chatter marks there. It's almost more spray paint than it is epoxy. So because it was so thick and dry last night, you know, edges like this, I'm not really fond of, but when I sand that down, it will be nice, and I'll soften that edge on there. But yeah, look at the chatter marks. I love those. That's what those chatter marks do for you. So yeah, I'm kind of goofy about that, but it looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with it. Looks like stained wood to me. Look at that. Okay. Let's get some epoxy. And here was the edges. So it just kind of all flows now. Okay, well that is the dark walnut wood look using epoxy. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that it inspired you. That's why I do this. I like to inspire other people. That's the whole point of YouTube, in my opinion, is you watch a YouTube and it should inspire you to try it. You can try this recipe, you can try your own recipe. You know, as soon as you see something you really want to do, take that idea and go with it. You know, and if it takes somebody else to inspire you to do it, that's okay. That's why we all make YouTubes. So I hope it did inspire you. I hope it did, you know, spark some kind of ideas. And remember that ideas are only ideas until you make it a reality. So get a practice board, start playing with it, and have fun. And until next time, please hit the subscribe button and the like button so that I know that you guys are out there and that you like the content that I'm doing. And please leave comments. I love to hear what you have to say. And like I said, I will be getting more videos out there. I now am open with my shop and studio, and I have the place to do it. I'm loving it. And honestly, guys, I'm really happy that you guys have watched, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, don't worry, I didn't forget. Here are the final pictures when it was all done. Enjoy.